What's up, guys? Tambo here with our Week 2 NFL Core Report. Week 2 was a monster for our experts, with many on the Tua stack and that Baltimore and Miami game stack, but nobody was higher on the Miami-Baltimore game stacks than our guy, Big T himself. Tony's player pool, available to premium members, focused primarily on the Baltimore shootout, as well as the Commanders-Lions game, adding in high-scoring wide receivers, including Amon-Ra St. Brown being in his core plays. Tony had a nice day, profiting over $83,000, and our members followed suit, dominating the slate in Week 2. Nadesify hit for $1K on FanDuel. Jacob Stubbs won $4,800 on FanDuel. Trev hit for $10,000 on FanDuel, and Chimo had another monster day, shipping over $100,000. The biggest hit of the day, though, came from one of our members, Racer1A, who shipped over $150,000 on DraftKings. If you're not subscribed to our content, what are you even thinking? Go over to our Run Pure Sports YouTube page right now and subscribe, and go visit our homepage at runpuresports.com to sign up for our premium content. Our members consistently crush. Congrats to all those that shared their screenshots this week. There were too many to feature them all, but drop yours in our Members Never Win channel in Discord for a chance at a future shoutout. Until next week, good luck in your contest, and let's keep running pure.
What's going on, everybody? Happy Wednesday, and welcome to the first look over here on Run Pure Sports. We are talking NFL Week 3, and we are happy to be doing it because it was a fun Week 2 for everybody. I'm Eric Crain. Joining me as every week. First off, we got AP. AP, what's going on, man?
Yeah, not a lot. It's good to be back with you fellas, two tournament goats. Excited to break this down. As always, it's a first look, early look. And, but I think the show has been going really well the past couple weeks. So excited to break it down with you guys.
Yeah. And also joining us, we got Lox. Lox, how was your Week 3?
Week 2 was okay.
Week 3. Oh, God.
I'm already moving forward, man.
Week 3 is going to be good.
I'm 100% on Week 3 so far, so we're good.
Yeah, no, I'm already moving forward. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to get into it. But before we get into it, I got to let you guys know it would be a big help to us over here at Run Pure Sports if you would click the like and subscribe buttons. It helps us out quite a bit. So right over here, I need you to click that like, click that subscribe button, and we would really appreciate it. But let's go ahead and jump right into Week 3. Guys, we're talking positions here. We're going to be talking about some of our favorite plays at quarterback, running back, and wide receiver. And I want to stress, because I had to deal with this on my Sunday morning show, right? So we were talking about a guy on Wednesday, and I'm like, yeah, I like this spot, I like that spot. This is the first look show. We are just taking a peek. Our opinions throughout the week, they're probably going to change a little bit, but it's always fun to kind of get you guys that first look. When we take a look at these salaries, when we take a look at the slate, when we take a look at some of our favorite stats, some of our favorite plays, and we just want to kind of take a look with you guys at the slate. So let's go ahead and start out at the quarterback position, because obviously everybody's going to play a lot of Josh Allen. He's 8.2K over on DraftKings in a match against the Miami Dolphins. And the Dolphins, they just keep getting involved in these shootouts. We'll talk about the other side of this game here in a little bit. But Locks, like Josh Allen, I don't know if I'm going to be paying for him, because just my initial thoughts on this slate is this is a week where I want to save a little bit at quarterback. But 8.2K for Josh Allen, obviously you want to play him. Do you think you're going to be able to play him?
I think you can. A lot of people are going to be going there. Obviously, he's a good play. He's an absolute stud, runs and passes, and that offense is just firing on all cylinders. So, you can get there, but I'm with you on this week. I'll sprinkle a little bit of him in. I'm not going to be high on the field on him, but I got a couple other quarterbacks I like. I do like the Eagles and Commanders game, both QBs, honestly. I know you don't like Wentz, but
I got to take an L.
How about him last week, baby?
I got to take an L on Carson Wentz. Like, just freaking bury me, because I did not think he was going to be throwing the ball 43 times a game, but he's done it. He's got over 31 DK points in 2 straight games. Like, AP, I just have to take the L on Carson Wentz.
I won a lunch bet against one of our members. I think we bet Carson Wentz against Carr. So felt very good about that. Free Chipotle for me for the week. Yeah, no complaints. No complaints at all.
You can't complain about
not for the week, but for one day at least.
No, I thought you were just like
for the week would be nice.
Like the double steak every single day and just I'm just gonna get the most expensive Chipotle I could possibly find. But yeah, no, I mean, Wentz, I think is a fine play.
Can we talk about one thing real quick with him?
Absolutely.
I know chat early on was like tilting him because the production wasn't coming early. You got to understand out there, and I want your guys' opinion on this, but like there's 4 quarters to a game. And a lot of these games, like you're going to see fantasy points come, like how the game flow goes is going to dictate kind of the outcome, fantasy point outcome. And you see when you get these back and forth shootout type environments, so many points come later in the game. So you can't tilt, especially in a situation where a team is down like that. And they have the weapons against a bad defense to make a comeback. So I don't know if you guys have a thought on that or not.
I'm guilty of it. Like I am 100% guilty. I'll tell you, here's a fun story. The week I won the Millie Maker, it was like halfway through the first set of games. And I was so tilted because all my guys were doing nothing. So I went to Quiznos. I posted a tweet that said, anybody asking how my fantasy day is going, here's how it is. And it's just me eating crap fast food, right? And like, then I win the Millie Maker that week. So no, you can definitely turn it around in the late games. And like, there's no tilting early. And like you said, like to me, if my team is down 20-3 at halftime and I have the quarterback on the team with 3 points, Locks, I don't know about you, but I usually feel pretty good about it now because I know that they're going to be chucking the ball in the second half.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely try to not tilt myself. I'm sure everyone finds themselves tilting, but I try to look at the positives because obviously if your team's down, you're going to be throwing a lot. You're not going to be running a lot. So that was the advantage with Wentz, and he sure came through on the second half there. So
is it weird that like internally during the first half, I was doing a bit of a victory lap about Carson Wentz not crushing? Like it goes both ways. It goes both ways. Like I was like, yeah, I'm going to be fine here. Finally, I just got to take a big old fat L. And he's only 6,300 this week. And there are a number of quarterbacks kind of in this cheap range. Carson Wentz. Tua is somebody that, I mean, look, 5 touchdown performance last week. He's got big boy weapons with Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill. That team is very clearly going to throw the ball a ton. And Tua is somebody, AP, that I'm just going to have to take a big L on also because I was not high on him preseason. And it's very clear in this offense, they're going to be chucking. This is a matchup where they're going to be chucking. The Bills just lost Micah Hyde. They just lost the cornerback who they had to bring the ambulance out for. And this is another spot where at 6,100, it feels like Tua is just far too cheap.
Yeah, I agree. I got to take my L on Tua also. Like last week, I was very high on Tyreek Hill. Just because I knew, like, who else do they have? Like, they're not going to feed any other receivers. Little
Waddle.
Well, yeah, Waddle too. But like, what I'm getting at is like Mike Gesicki is a blocker now. Like, they're not using him, as a tight end. Chase Edmonds, yeah, he's fine. What this offense is going to do each and every week is try to get Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle the ball as often as possible. And as like double digits every single week, especially in a matchup like this one, I think. So at their price points, 7.6K, 6.8K, if you're assuming double-digit targets again, I'm going right back to that stack. Now, I wasn't fully on that stack. I was very high on Tyreek Hill. Our boy Big T was very high on that game and that side of it and stacking it up. But I don't think it's like I always try to look for these things, too, on a week-to-week basis. Like, are we overacting to a certain spot? Are we chasing? I don't think this is a chase at all, and for multiple reasons. One, I already stated it, that where else are they going to go target-wise? Like, I'm not worried about – could Chase Edmonds maybe have a game? Sure. I don't see it. I see the production and the volume coming through Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, and naturally, due to how good those two guys are, it just enhances how good – Tua is. And like, that's something I overlooked big time, especially last week. I'm not overlooking it this week at all. And you have to look at the opponent on the other side. this stack is going to bust multiple times this season when they're in situations where it's not a back and forth scoring type of environment. Not going to be the case this week with Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs on the other side. We have a really nice, and if you got to assume maybe Gabe Davis is going to be back, that only makes it better. There's going to be so many ways to stack up this game. It's going to be one that we're very, very high on. So I'm with you. I'll take my L on Tua, but I'll quickly get back on him. I'm going to be on him this week, and so I'm really intrigued and interested in that game. Crain, do you want me to talk about the other QBs this week and keep going into that? We're
a free-flowing show, man.
Free flow, I like that. So the other thing about, it's an early look, obviously, but, and kind of want your opinion, both of your opinions on this. What I see right now is, when you look at some of the fantasy scores from receivers and quarterbacks, obviously a very strong correlation last week. It was extremely high. We even had Joe Flacco putting up an incredible number up there with Carson Wentz. But I'm almost, I don't want to, this could be an overreaction, but some of these running backs, I might be over trying to pay for some of these higher priced running backs, especially on a slate like this one we have this week that's so loaded offensively. We have 3 or 4 at least totals above 50. It's going to be a high scoring week. I think we want to prioritize some of these high upside quarterbacks and pair them with receivers from that game. So a couple I'm looking at, obviously Josh Allen and Tua. We already talked about that. I think they're fine. Seems like Josh Allen is if you want 30 points, play Josh Allen. Find the 8,200, get your 30 points and move on. And if that's how you're going to do it, then perfect. I think Jalen Hurts is kind of in that same discussion as well. I know the cash guys yesterday were talking about it on the First Look show. So those two, they're going to be in my pool. Then you got, Patrick Mahomes, which is always an interesting discussion. A matchup against Indy, who got destroyed last week. Have to assume they bounce back in some way. But man, Matt Ryan looks so dusty, looks absolutely dusty and terrible. And I'm pretty high on the Chiefs defense. Obviously, with me on the show, we know we're talking about the Chiefs in some aspect each and every week. But their defensive front is underrated. They're nasty. They when you just go back and look at the game against Kyler, they were all over them. Even last week, they won the game for them single-handedly. So I think it's going to be another tough game for Indy, and which on the KC side could make it really frustrating. So as far as finding a predictable target share, I think it's far better to go to the Bills game and over the Chiefs game where there's a lot of unpredictability. So on the surface, Crain, man, I could see my quarterback pool being pretty small this week, focusing on these elite guys. I got to put them in that category. Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen, these guys that can put up big numbers.
Yeah, and Tua is one of those guys. I think he might end up being a cash play, because at 6,100, he allows you to do so much. Right now, I'm looking at a lineup, with Tua, Diggs, Tyreek, and Waddle. Not that I expect Tyreek and Waddle to go for nearly 200 yards again, but God, you got to look at those guys and want to play them, and you end up with 4,300 left over per spot. So it's a little bit tough to get them in. And then if you throw Josh Allen in, good luck fitting that in, because that extra 2,000 you save going from Allen to Tua really helps out. Lox, are there any other quarterbacks that you're kind of looking at? Because, Joe Burrow's been bad and he's 6,600. Carson Wentz, he put up back-to-back 31 pieces. Jared Goff, he's at a high total at Minnesota, and you know exactly who to pair him with Amon-Ra St. Brown. There are some other guys that I don't hate the spots. I just don't like it as much as the Buffalo-Miami game. So, Lox, are there any other quarterbacks that interest you?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I am high on Mahomes this week, obviously to get different than Allen, just in that game. I also like, who was it? Sorry. Got off track there. I wasn't.
Oh, you're fine. Hey, it's all right. It's only Wednesday, man. We can get a little off track.
I do like
you can stop at Mahomes. We're good with that. You like Mahomes. I like Mahomes. Yeah. We all like Mahomes. Let's go.
Yeah. I can't help but think that Mahomes might end up being a little lower owned this week than normal.
Yeah, I could see that. And I also I could see Kirk Cousins bouncing back with Justin.
Yeah. I thought about Cousins too, but that's one. Man, oh man. It's just tough to click that button after last week. Boy, it's tough to click that Kirk Cousins button.
True.
Which is why he's a good tournament play, which is one of the reasons why we want to take a look at him in tournaments. Look, boy, it's tough to pay. Like, the idea of paying $6,700 for Cousins when I can pay $61 for Tua, that's a tough pill to swallow.
Yeah, for sure. And the other guy I think could bounce back is Burrow. You can't keep him down too long. One of these days he's gonna bust out.
Especially against the Jets.
Yeah.
Like Burrow.
That's a get right spot.
That is definitely a get right spot.
One like interesting thing about that is something doesn't look right with the Bengals defensively, offensively. It's going to change. This team has way too much talent. But I'm not like saying the Jets are good or anything like that. The thing I admire and why I think a Burrow stack could be in play, I think you play it every week, Burrow to Chase at least, just because of the upside it brings. But the ability that we saw, the Jets to at least score and make things interesting last week, they have so much time. They have talent at the receiver position now. So Garrett Wilson looks like an absolute stud. So, I mean, you could make the case for like a Burrow Chase run it back with like a Garrett Wilson or one of the receivers on the Jets side. Yeah. I mean, it's not my favorite spot, but or Elijah Moore, but we did see upside in that game last week. So could be an overreaction, but I like that take.
Yeah, we have a couple questions in the chat. How chalky will Goff or Kirk Cousins be? I don't think either is going to be all that chalky. Like, I could see Goff getting a little bit of steam at 5,800. It's a big total there in Minnesota, and Goff, he's looked good. Kirk Cousins, he won't be chalky at all. And somebody asked Mac Jones with a question mark. Nope. No, thank you. No, thank you. We're going to move on to running backs here in just a second. But first, guys, if you're watching and you haven't done it yet, click the like button, click the subscribe button. It helps us out. We really appreciate it if you're enjoying the content over here at Run Pure Sports. Let's talk running back. And Locks, AP brought up a point just a few seconds ago where he's done paying up at running back. He doesn't want to do it anymore. And I can't help but think that there are a lot of people right now that are feeling burned by paying up for running back. Christian McCaffrey, again, disappoints us. Jonathan Taylor, he has not been the guy we expected him to be. Last week, only 7 fantasy points. Austin Eckler, he's looked like a shell of himself. Derrick Henry, he looked awful last week. Dalvin Cook, again, couldn't break 6 fantasy points on Monday Night Football. Locks, I can't help but think that a lot of these high-end running backs are going to be lower owned, which means that in tournaments, we have to have some interest. But again, like I was saying with Kirk Cousins, it's awfully tough to click those buttons this week. What are you doing at the running back position?
Yeah, I could see that side of things, but I'm honestly gonna stick to it. Those guys are just too good and they can easily break a slate. So, I mean, I've been on CMC both weeks. I'm not going to hop off because the time you hop off is the time he goes for 40.
Yep. So, I know. Like, I'm with you on McCaffrey. It was Sunday morning, and I think I said on the show, I said, doesn't it just feel like McCaffrey is being too low owned? Because this is $1,000 cheaper than he would have been at any point when he was healthy. And we know he can break a slate. But AP, I guess you're just fading these high end guys, right? For the high end receivers.
I mean, it's hard to say fading. Like it's going to be a week to week type of thing, but I do think there's like an opportunity cost discussion to be had where it's, paying almost, $9K for Johnny Taylor, Christian McCaffrey, Derrick Henry versus using that salary on a Cooper Kupp, Justin Jefferson, Devontae Adams, Jamar Chase, Stephon Diggs, Tyreek Hill, Amon-Ra, the GOAT, St. Brown, Michael Pittman, Jalen. When you look at it, in my opinion, if we can find a scrub running back that gets us double digits, maybe low double digits, to prioritize some of these high upside receivers in the right game script, that's where I'm leaning, moving forward. And CMC, I get it. He could definitely break the slate. I went back there last week and he was fine in comparison to the other running backs that week, but in comparison to the receivers and prioritizing receiver running back, you definitely wanted those receivers. So I don't know. I'm torn. If I can find value at running back, that's where I'm going to do it this week and jam in some of these receivers. Like Jonathan Taylor. The Chiefs, man, they've shut down 2 running backs already so far. Part of that due to game script. But we did see Eckler struggled until he got the dump off.
Yeah.
So, and that was the right game script late in that game, obviously. But traditional rushing, the KC defensive front really shut him down. I'm worried about Jonathan Taylor here. Historically, this would be a spot where I'm like, man, he's going to run all over KC, but I'm not seeing it early. And then Christian McCaffrey. Derrick Henry, Kay Fallick was talking about it in the chat earlier. Like there's something wrong with this offensive line when they were getting him in that little toss sweep action, right or left. Ew, man, he was going backwards, and you never see that from Derrick Henry. So, and then Dalvin Cook, I was very high on Dalvin Cook that last game, and I was not impressed with what
This is such a good Dalvin Cook spot. This
definitely is
Dalvin Cook spot, especially after last week. He looked so bad. Like at home against Detroit, they got the team totals at 4 touchdowns, like 7,900. Dalvin feels a solid 1,500 too cheap for me.
So I think the play, if you're a multi-entry player, which I think we all are, is I'm not fading high price running backs. I'm fading getting 2 of them in my build. I'm fine with 1. But then my other one, I'm going to try to find value because I don't want to sacrifice these high-priced receivers.
Okay, so let's take a look at some of these value guys because you got to hold your nose a little if you're going to play them. Locks, can I interest you in a little David Montgomery at 5,900?
No.
Okay. Can I interest you in a little Miles Sanders at 5,500?
Not really. No, I don't like backfields.
Okay, here. What about a little Josh Jacobs at 5,400?
I could see that. I like that.
Okay. I mean, that value play. You got to kind of hold your nose with these guys. Maybe a little Travis Etienne at 5,400. Is there anybody down here that you like, Locks? Because I'm looking at this list and it's ugly.
Yeah, it's not pretty, but there is a few. And I agree with AP. I'm not going to stick in 2 of these high-priced running backs because then you're just toast with all the stud wide receivers. I was just saying, as far as my end of things, I'm not going to get away from the high guys. Yeah, they're going to be less owned, which is actually a good thing, I think, because nobody's going to want to pay up for them. They're going to be paying up at wide receiver. So I'm going to be sticking more towards the top, but there is a lot of still value pieces that you can throw in. I don't like your boy Jeff Wilson that you liked last week.
Hey, he was on the Millie Maker winner. That's all I know.
Was he really?
Yes.
Oh, man, I can't do it. I still don't like it. Yeah. And then it's hard to choose. You could find some value in the Cardinals backfield a little bit with Benjamin and Williams because I think Connor's still going to be out. It's just hard to choose which one of them you're going to play any week. But yeah, like I said, there's a few pieces down here, but I'm really not spending down a whole lot at running back.
I don't mind trying to find the bounce back game from Cordero Patterson either. He only had 10 carries last week for fantasy points. That's coming off a 25 piece in week 1. So I don't mind Cordero Patterson. He's 5,800, looks a little bit too cheap against Seattle. And I don't know. I don't think David Montgomery's that bad of a play. Like I'm playing a starting running back at Houston or at home against Houston. Like I don't think
he's not a bad play. I'm a Packer fan. I hate the Bears.
Okay. So we're bringing those biases a little bit. AP, who are some of the value running backs that you like?
Yeah, this early, it's kind of tough because, one of the problems, as Locks mentioned, it's you got to go digging for him. I agree with you on Patterson. I do like the game script here for him a little bit better, projected to be kind of a grinded out game, better for dump offs to Cordero. Give him some touches on the ground. Seems like they trust Marcus Mariota to, put him in easier situations. And it's not like Kyle Pitts is getting much love anyway. So, but, if you're talking multi-entry formats, maybe looking at one of these backups that has upside in the right, game script. We talk about it all the time. Chiefs backfield, Jerick McKinnon, 4.5K. In that right script, I could definitely see him landing in the end zone, maybe getting, 4 or 5 targets if the Chiefs can handle Indy on the road here. It is a road game, obviously very difficult, but they already showed that they, took care of the Cardinals, absolute blowout there. So, and if this Colts team is bad, and like what I saw last week was bad, really bad, they need Pittman back. They were obviously down a few key weapons. So things could change here for sure. But if not, You could even go like Isaiah Pacheco. And that's a stretch. And what I'm talking about here is one of your running back positions, taking a risk on an ultra cheap guy to allow you to get one of those better running backs that's mid to upper price and two really good receivers is kind of the script I'm looking at when looking at roster construction. But outside of that, I mean, yeah, it does get kind of tricky down here, at the cheaper running back position. So I'm gonna, it's gonna be something I'm gonna continue to dig into all week to see if we can't find one of these backups. Maybe it's I got to look at like JD McKissick if he got, another situation. So, and McKissick is a little bit more expensive, 5.3K on DraftKings, but Philly looked good last week. Got to assume that Jalen Hurts and company comes in, has another good performance early on. It could set up for a good game script for a guy like JD McKissick. So this is going to take some rules in the optimizer, Saber Sims who we use. Because I don't want two of these random scrubs mixing into any one of my builds. And so I'm going to have some rules set up to where I'm taking shots on these RB2s, mixing them in with some of these better options, mid to higher price that we feel better about their production.
Yeah, the chat brought up Ramondre Stevenson. Like, he's the kind of guy where 4,800, he could absolutely get there with Damian Harris a little bit banged up. And look, I don't know what's going to happen with this Rams backfield. Like, I just have no earthly clue. And I know, Lox, you hate the split backfields, but it kind of feels like Darrell Henderson, 5,700, Cam Akers, 5,500. It feels like one of these guys is going to get there, Lox.
Yeah, I could see that. It's one of those things like we talked about last week. You never know. I mean, Darrell Henderson was the bell cow in week 1, and then I think it was almost a 50-50 split last week, wasn't it?
Cam Akers had 15 carries. Darrell Henderson had 10 carries, but Henderson did get the touchdown.
Yeah, so that's where it's tough. The one guy I did want to touch base on, as we were talking about game script a little bit in AP's Chiefs game, was possibly if you want to find some value is Nyheim Hines. I think if the Colts get behind, you could see him come in there. If Taylor's having an off game and can't get the ball running, he could catch.
I tried that last week.
That's it. Yeah, but look at like the success Eckler had. He got all of his production late in the game, the Chargers game against them. Just that they were playing kind of a prevent scheme there towards the end. So Lox, I agree with you. Game script dependent, but your build should tell a story. So I like that mention.
This isn't surprising. AP thinks the Chiefs are going to win 37-0.
Oh yeah, I do. They're going to roll the Colts, man. Matt Ryan sucks. He's terrible.
Matt Ryan's bad.
He's so bad.
Hey, you know what? Carson Wentz was bad there. Matt Ryan's bad there. Maybe it's the coaching staff. I'm just saying. Maybe it's not the actual player, because Matt Ryan wasn't awful last year. Like, hey,
shout out to Snyder. He got me on the Jags defense though, because I was looking for pivots off of the chalky Bengals defense, and so I was heavier on the Saints, which they tied the Bengals, so there was no leverage gain there. But the Jags absolutely got it done.
All right, speaking of the Saints, let's move on to wide receiver. And guys, you can talk about the Cooper Kupps of the world. You can talk about the Justin Jeffersons of the world. But I am victory lapping Chris Olave. I'm doing it. I told you guys that he was going to be getting some deep shots. Sure, he never caught him, which is an issue if you're rostering a wide receiver. But he had over 300 air yards. And we're going to talk about all the studs. But Lox, Chris Olave, is it coming, baby? Are we going to be there?
It's coming.
Yes.
I agree with you. I think it's coming.
All right. Welcome. That's all.
He's still 4.5K. Oh, man.
So
we have to go back.
He's so cheap. You have to.
Yeah, I mean, he had, 300 and I don't remember the exact number, but it was over 300 air yards. All they did was throw bombs to him. He had 13 targets last week, 13 targets. Nearly all of them were deep shots. He only caught 5 of them for 80 yards. So 12 points, which, by the way, at 4.5K, 12 points ain't killing you. So anyways, I'm just taking a Chris Olave victory lap. And if you want to take some victory laps with us, click the like button, click the subscribe button. It helps us out a lot over here at Run Pure Sports. So let's talk about some of these high-end wide receivers. And we've sort of reached a point in the NFL where everybody's going to be playing these guys. Cooper Kupp, Justin Jefferson. It feels like we've kind of switched, because 3 years ago, even the high-end wide receivers weren't as consistent. You'd get the consistency out of the high-end running back position. Whereas this year, Locks, it seems like we're getting the consistency out of these high-end wide receivers. Cooper Kupp, Justin Jefferson didn't get there Monday night. Devontae Adams also didn't get there, but Jamar Chase, Stephon Diggs, these Miami receivers, like all of these guys I want to spend up on. I think everybody wants to spend up on all these guys, but Locks, the upside is just so massive that I have trouble fading any of these guys.
Yeah, and that's where it goes back to running back too. I mean, if you spend up at running back, you can't really get a couple of these guys, which this year it looks like you're missing out on, just because these top guys can just go off. I mean, how can you not play Amon-Ra St. Brown? The guy's an absolute freaking stud. Kupp's just untouchable. I mean, he can't be stopped. So I don't know how you don't play him. Justin Jefferson, yeah, he had an off game, but yeah, I'm going to be finding myself paying up at wide receiver a lot this year, just because of everyone I can see up there. And even this mid-range value of wide receiver. And that's why I think sometimes you can pay up at running back, because even the mid-tier has been crushing, to be honest with you. I mean,
it's a pass happy league, man.
Like, yeah, I mean, you look at Waddle, he's only 6,800. You look at Christian Kirk, 6,200, the guy who gets peppered every week. I mean, there's just plenty of guys in this mid-tier range that you can spend up on running back if you want to. So I think that's definitely a way to go. But yeah, the wide receiver is definitely a lot more consistent than running back so far to begin the year.
Yeah, and a guy like T. Higgins, you're talking about this mid-range. If you're not playing Jamar Chase, I think T. Higgins is a phenomenal pivot off of there. One guy I'm not playing is DK Metcalf. I just can't ever trust Geno, but Terry McLaurin at 6,400 is one guy I absolutely can trust. And I know that Darius Slay absolutely shut down Justin Jefferson last week. And I think it could be a letdown game a little bit for that Philly defense. I like McLaurin a lot this week. AP, when you look at these wide receivers, who are you looking at?
Yeah, I mean, we kind of talked about it, a lot on this show, just following game script and targeting these games where we could, in the fourth quarter, you could get back and forth scoring type environments. Bills, Dolphins, obviously very high on that list. We know what we're going to get on the Dolphins side, targets to Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle. And then we know on the Bills side, Stephon Diggs has been an absolute stud. Got to see if Gabe Davis is back, but still the opportunity for both of those guys is going to be there, in my opinion. And then you have two viable quarterbacks that you can pair them with. So very high, and all of them are affordable. Tyreek Hill, 7'6", Jalen Waddle, 6'8", Stephon Diggs, 7'7".
These guys should all be in the 9Ks.
So
they're all too cheap.
Yeah. So all right, Devon, people are going to talk about this week. Oh, flop lag spot for Devontae Adams. I was actually off of him last week. I just, maybe a little bias here because I'm a Chiefs fan. I don't like the Raiders, but I've watched this Raiders team for long enough. And man, this organization, I apologize to any Raiders fans out there, not trying to go right at you or anything like this, but I view it kind of like, I'm a Nebraska fan. Our program is a disaster. There's no, they should fold the program, focus on the sports that they're good at here, which is volleyball and fucking bowling. That's what they should do.
I'm so glad we've worked volleyball and bowling into this.
But I'm telling you, I don't trust them. And Devontae Adams, 8.4K, fine play. I wouldn't talk anyone off of him. I can't play him over some of these spots like Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill, Stephon Diggs, Amon-Ra St. Brown. I'm even lower on some of these Chiefs guys. I'm going to work. So how these mid-range Chiefs guys, how I'm going to work them in is I'm going to have a rule set up. It's probably going to be maybe one or probably one max with some of these stacks. So I want to work in an MVS, a Juju Smith, a McCole Hardman, but I only want one from that game. Chris Olave, I'd add him into that mix too. A cheap, to mid-range, high upside guy with these stacks where I think we're going to see back and forth scoring. I don't know if we're going to get that in the Raiders Titans game. So that's what makes me lower on that game as well. And then, the Bengals, Jets, we talked about it. Could we get a back and forth scoring environment? I think what you do with the Bengals team is they're going to figure it out one of these days. And when they do, they're going to put up a big number. So in Millie Maker formats, yeah, I think you can make the case there. The Eagles Commanders game, I think you could see some back and forth scoring there, assuming Carson Wentz can get it done. Man, I don't know. This Eagles defense looked good. They absolutely embarrassed Kirk Cousins on Monday night. And Carson Wentz got it done for us late last week, but I don't know, man. I don't know if that could be I don't know if he can do it here against the Eagles. Being at home is going to help for sure. But if you get the right game environment, it could happen. So, like, what I'm saying is if you're playing an AJ Brown with Jalen Hurts or Devontae Smith with Jalen Hurts, I'm running it back with Jahan Dotson or Terry McLaurin. I'm definitely making that stack. So,
I was going to say, Jahan Dotson is so cheap at 4.6. Like, that's just, it's just kind of egregious right now. I know he's only gotten 5 targets a game, but he's scoring touchdowns and he's getting the trust of Carson Wentz in a good situation. Like, outside of Dotson and Olave, who's 4,600 and 4,500 respectively, I guess Marquez Valdes-Scantling if you really want to roll the dice, but boy, I just don't think he's good at football. We have to wait and see what happens with Keenan Allen, but I think he's going to be back. But if something happens where he suffered a setback, Josh Palmer would certainly be viable at 4.8K. But Locks, I look at these kind of value guys, and there's not a lot that I like here at the wide receiver position.
Yeah, there's not a lot that low. I mean, probably not dipping below 5K very much this week. I don't mind, honestly, if we have a Kirk Cousins bounce back game. I mean, Adam Thielen's only 5'9". I don't think that's very expensive.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't mind going to him. I do love the Olave call. I'm with him. I'm with that with you. Curtis Samuel's only 5.1. I don't know how you don't keep going with him. I mean, the guy still gets some rushes. He's been a stud so far a little bit. I mean, for his price range, you can't really argue with the points he's gotten us. But yeah, I don't see much in this bottom tier of wide receivers that I really like. I'm going to be paying up a little bit.
Okay, so if you guys enjoy speedy wide receivers who only get about 2 targets a game, who last year crushed it with this quarterback, could I interest you in a little Darnell Mooney this week? Come on board. Nobody. It's not good. It's not good when I say something and it's just nothing but silence.
Possible.
That's not good.
I'll sprinkle them in.
Is there a chance this Texans defense, this might be a reach, but is there a chance this Texans defense is better than what we think? Like, they've looked decent through 2 games.
He's 5,300. It takes 2 plays and he's home.
Yeah, but you're trusting, Justin Fields, and
I'd rather play Juju at 55.
Okay.
Yeah,
I would too. I'm just saying that
he'll be in my player pool, yes.
Okay, that's all I need. I don't need the lock button. I just need in the player pool. That's all. And depending on what I know, that AP, which by the way, I was personally stunned that the Chiefs fan was bashing on the Raiders guy. But depending on what happens with Hunter Renfrow, Locks with this Raiders team, could we look at a guy like Mac Hollins? Could we look at a guy like Keelan Cole? Or is it just sort of we play more Waller and more Devontae Adams if Hunter Renfrow's out?
You could look at Mac Hollins. I can't do it. I don't know. I just think it's more targets for Adams and Waller. I think Adams is going to go back to that 15 to 20 target range, and Waller's going to get his fair share workload, I think.
All right, before we move on to tight ends, AP, I'm going to throw it to you. Tell the people what they're missing by not subscribing over to Run Pure Sports with the core plays and the playbook.
Yeah, I mean, we're loaded with tons of premium content from playbooks, cash charts, core plays. We got heat maps for NFL. We cover all sports, still covering MLB. We have NBA right around the corner. I mean, that's going to be here in no time, too. One of my favorite sports, especially in DFS formats. So tons of stuff, tons of content over here at Run Pure Sports and the Discord. The Discord's been awesome. Lots of sharp members in there discussing ideas, strategies, and everything. So lots of tools, lots of things to help you build lineups and become a winning player for fantasy football.
And one of the nice things about Run Pure Sports too is you get all the sports for one price. Like, obviously we're talking football here. Obviously the majority of everything in fantasy sports is football, but you can get those niche sports too. We spent 10 minutes before the show talking a little DFS tennis. So we are all over the place over at Run Pure Sports. All right, let's move on to tight ends and locks. Obviously everybody wants to pay up. Mark Andrews had the big week last week. Travis Kelce always in play. Kyle Pitts, it's tough to click that button too, but I might do it this week. Talk to me about tight end locks. Who do you like here?
Yeah, I mean, the easy ones are Mark Andrews, Travis Kelce. The guy I like a lot and is one of his favorite targets is Goddard. I think Hurts loves Goddard. I mean, I love that guy. I loved him last year. I just think he's going to continue to get peppered. Jawan Johnson isn't a bad play at 2,900 if you're looking to save some value. It seems like Winston likes him. But I'm going to play Pitts. I mean, the guy
Well, let's do it, baby. We're right together.
Yeah, I mean, the guy's a monster. You can't keep him down that long. He's going to have a breakout game one of these times. I mean, London's kind of taken away from some of his targets, but I could see him bouncing back, to be honest with you. If Gabe Davis is out, I like Dawson Knox again. I don't mind Irv Smith if he's back. He obviously played a little bit more this week, so if you're looking to save some money at tight end again, Irv Smith is a good call at 3,100, I think. But yeah, there's ways you can get value here, and there's ways you can spend up and possibly get a breakout game. I mean, Kelce could have a huge bounce back game this week.
One guy I'm looking at, and it's the starting tight end and a high total. TJ Hawkinson has seen 7 targets in each of the first 2 games. Now, he hasn't gotten a lot of yards. He hasn't gotten in the box yet, but any tight end at 4,200 that gets that many looks, I'm going to have a lot of interest in. You mentioned Kyle Pitts. I'm with you. The coach come out and say, well, I don't care about fantasy football, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. The dude is just too good to keep off the scoreboard. He's averaging 5 targets a game. It's not like he's not seeing some looks. So Kyle Pitts at 4,800. Again, this might be the cheapest we see him all year. AP, are you in on Hawkinson? You're definitely in on Hawkinson. You love targets. You love title. I know you're in on Hawkinson, right?
Yeah, I mean 4.2K. Like, so my problem with Kelce this week is he's in that, he's priced in there with those elite receivers, and Kelce obviously is. But the thing with this Chiefs defense or Chiefs offense that we have to embrace is it's going to be kind of high variance all season. Like Juju's going to have a game, MVS is going to have a game, Clyde's going to have a game, Kelsey's going to have a game. Makes it tougher on a slate like this to spend that type of money for him when we can get, I'm not going to compare him to some of these cheaper guys, but we at least know like a Tyler Higbee or a Hawkinson, the targets are going to be there for those guys. And I agree with you on Kyle Pitts. I always like to, background kind of in finance. I love, the playing around with the market, and I love looking at some of these guys who are elite guys and looking at their price tag. Crain, I think you brought up something really interesting and valuable there. And this could be the cheapest price tag that we see Kyle Pitts at 4.8. If he goes off here, gets in the end zone, 5 or 6 catches, who knows? That price is going up because the ownership's going to go up. I want to get in on these buy sell opportunities when everyone is off of him. Are there concerns around Kyle Pitts? For sure. Lots of concerns there, but the price is discounted enough to kind of offset that, especially in tournaments if we get them at lower ownership. So yeah, my goal here, I'm going to try to save money at the tight end position this week. TJ Hawkinson, I think is interesting. Tyler Higbee, interesting. Kyle Pitts, all those guys under 5K, all very interesting. I'm not sure how low I'm going to go. Could you guys go as low as I'm just looking at this.
I can go as low as Jawan Johnson.
Juwan Johnson. Okay.
Yeah. He's,
how many targets did he get last week?
7. He had 7 targets.
7.
4.
Yeah.
He got 4 for 40 yards. So obviously he didn't show up in the box score, but at 2,900, you don't need him to absolutely crush it. I think he is an obvious play. He was chalk last week. I expect him to get some ownership this week as well. You mentioned Irv Smith. He got in the box. Go ahead.
The other guy is, and you guys might, there's likely the chance that you might not like this play, but Isaiah Likely at 2.8K. No, hold on, Craig. We know what the Patriots like to do: take away the best weapon, which is Mark Andrews, and Isaiah Likely's been out there on the field. What do you have? 4 or 5 targets last week?
He had 4 targets week 1, 5 targets week 2. So I mean,
there you go. 2.8K.
I can't argue with that. I can't argue with it.
There's another guy I want to ask you guys about.
Okay.
4.4, Gerald Everett.
Yeah, I mean,
he's 14 targets in 2 weeks.
Is Keenan Allen going to be back this week?
I think he's still questionable, but
Okay,
first look, I mean, I don't mind that 14 targets for a tight end.
Yeah, no, and even if Keenan Allen is back, like he's cheap enough to where I don't care. Like this is not a week to pay up for a dude like Kelsey or for a guy like Andrews. Like, yeah, nobody's going to do it, and I get that argument. I always say that argument, but the expensive wide receivers are just so good. The expensive running backs are going to be different, but they're also such good plays. Like there are enough cheap, good plays at tight end. We haven't even talked about Zach Ertz, who I think is also interesting at 4.6. You mentioned Goddard, Pitts at 4.8. I don't see the reason to pay up at tight end this week. So no, this like mid 4K range is super strong. Golly, look at Zach Ertz's game log, by the way. He got 11 targets last week. Did you guys know that?
Yeah, this game could be a nice back and forth as well.
Yeah, like
Rams, Cardinals in a dome.
I mean, Murray loves Ertz. That's a good play too.
Yeah, like to me, this is one of those you just kind of when you kind of stack in baseball and you don't really like a catcher, you say, I'll just throw whoever the catcher is in my stack. That's who I'm going to play. To me, you find the game you want to stack up. You say, okay, I'm going to find whatever cheap tight end goes in this game, and that's how I'm going to stack it. Whether it's the Rams and Cardinals with Higbee or Ertz, whether it's Philadelphia and Washington with Dallas Goedert or Logan Thomas, you're probably not stacking Atlanta, Seattle, but you get my drift. If you're stacking Detroit, Minnesota, Hawkinson or Smith, like there are just so many good stacking opportunities with tight end. That's what I'm doing with the position. I'm going to find the games I'm going to stack up, and that's how I'm going to do it, which leads us into talking about some of our favorite stacks. Obviously, everybody's going to be stacking the Bills and Dolphins. No kidding. It's a 53-point total. The Chiefs and Colts. AP very clearly thinks the Colts are going to score -8 points, so I don't think he's going to be stacking up the Colts side.
No, I think Nyheim Hines is going to get in the box.
I love Nyheim Hines. If there's flop lag, if there's flop lag with Nyheim Hines, who I touted last week, I'm not going to be a happy guy. I am going to be pissy. Detroit, Minnesota, 53.5-point total. The Vikings 6-point favorites at home. I think Dalvin is such a good play this week, and as is Justin Jefferson after a dud last week. Locks, like these high totals, we know that everybody wants to stack up. What are some of the games that you're going to be stacking?
Yeah, I mean, the high totals obviously are always the ones you want to go to. I think a lot of people are going to be on Dalvin Cook, like you just said, and I could actually see the
Really? I was hoping he was going to be low on.
No, I don't know. I think he's going to be higher than you think. I don't think he's going to be high, but he'll be higher than you think. And I think a way to get different would be to throw in the Cousins, Jefferson, Thielen stack or something like that. I don't mind that. A couple other stacks. I would say the Chiefs.
This is one of those weeks where there are like really good games, and then there are really bad games, and there's not much in between.
Yeah, and I like in tournaments. I like the Bengals stack. I like Burrow, Chase, Higgins, something like that. Just to get a little bit different there, and then obviously Hurts. I could see a Hurts AJ Brown or Hurts AJ Brown Goddard. Throwback Antonio Gibson in that one. Something like that, but there's a lot of good stacks that you can get different on with this slate. I'm not on the Baltimore stack this week. I like the Chiefs, but I feel like that's going to be a little bit more chalky. So yeah, there's quite a few good ones out there.
Yeah, AP. When I look at this slate, like there are certainly ways to stack it up. Like, if you want to get a weird stack in there, like the Raiders Titans, 45.5-point total. Can you play anybody from the Titans?
I mean, I'm definitely off that game. So I don't know who I'd want to play. Like, okay, so to answer your question, I think if you think that game stays close, you have to believe in Derrick Henry and his ability to have a good game. So if I'm playing
Robert Woods, 5K, come on.
Well, yeah, but I'm saying like a full-on stack, like you for point when you're stacking a game, you want points, you want back and forth scoring. Yeah, we're not playing Tannehill. I'm not even playing Derek Carr either. So I'm not sagging that game. I'll leave that one for you, Crain. So like as far as stacks goes, obviously love the Bills Dolphins. So like I separated out by like my primary stacks, so quarterbacks plus playmakers and my targeting, and then secondary stacks. Like when I look at the Chiefs Colts game, I like that as a secondary stack. Maybe a little bit more if Pittman plays for sure. He does. Is he even carrying like a questionable designation?
Yeah, he's still questionable.
He's still questionable. Okay, yeah. So, the Lions Vikings. For me, it's a secondary stat game. Like I love Amon-Ra St. Brown, T.J. Hawkinson. One of those guys, and bringing it back with one of Dalvin Cook or Justin Jefferson. Dalvin Cook, like I think it was 2 years ago, put up a nice 40 piece against the Lions. And I think it was Alexander Madison that got the work with Cook out last year when these teams faced, and he put up big games. So running backs, the Vikings running backs historically crush this team, but I view that as a secondary spot because I don't really want to play Jared Goff or Kirk Cousins. I think there's something to be, I kind of like the unders in this game, so it's harder for me to get on a stacking spot. But when you look at pricing, Justin Herbert plus Mike Williams plus Keenan Allen, if the Chargers decide to just lay one on the Jaguars here, which they definitely could, put up 35 some points. I mean, this Chargers team is really, really elite. I think their defense is one of the best in the NFL, and so that's where I do think kind of upside is capped a little bit. But when you look at the pricing there, Herbert 7.4, Mike Williams 6.7, Keenan Allen 6.5. We know he likes to distribute the ball around. You can bring it back with Chris Kirk, a very affordable stack with upside, as long as the Jaguars can get some points in this one.
I think you can bring this one back with Travis Etienne too. Like, I know that the usage hasn't necessarily been there, but in a game where they're expected to be throwing a lot, it would not shock me to see him get a little extra work. We've talked about
Isn't he the one that can't catch? Or is that, or did he actually catch some balls last week?
Look,
he did.
Three targets and three catches, baby. What more could you want? He's basically Darnell Mooney catching the football.
So the last one is the Rams Cardinals. And if you believe, I think both teams are a little overrated, but they have so much offensive firepower. Well, if Kyler Murray can, run around like he did and make this a game, then it elevates all the pieces on the Rams side. Cooper Kupp, Allen Robinson, Tyler Higbee, and then you have Marquise Brown. You got Zach Ertz. I don't think I'm going to go to like a Greg Dortch. I'll continue to
I'm so sick of Greg Dortch getting there.
I'm so freaking sick
of
the Cash Bros. That was the only victory lap the Cash guys had last week. It was a disaster.
I like that game stack though, AP.
Yeah. James Conner, 6.2K. Like James Conner's he's gonna have a game here at some point. And the Raiders, again, I was hating on the Raiders. I do respect their defense. I think they just, they got worn out by Kyler just running around the field. I mean, it was insane. Like I want to know how, like he had to run over like 150 yards on those two scrambles that he had for like 10 yards. I mean, it's just crazy. He tired them out. So I like this Rams Cardinals game though as well.
Yeah, I like the Rams Cardinals games too. And I think amongst the high totals, it's going to be the least stacked one, which obviously makes it interesting. The Kyler Marquise Brown stack, the Matt Stafford Cooper Kupp stack. I don't think they're going to be popular at all, which means in tournaments, that's where we need to be looking. But we got to get off here. So keep looking to more stuff on Run Pure Sports because we got all kinds of shows throughout the week. Make sure you check us out. We would love it if you'd click the like and subscribe button, but we got to jump out here for now. For AP, for Locks, for Simon behind the scenes, I'm Eric. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll catch you later. Peace.